Alright. Hello and welcome finally to my little guide and tutorial for my Gullblaster Trickster. I call it the Gullblaster because we are blasting pretty fucking hard. Almost as if we had a headhunter, but we have not. I can finally make the tutorial because I just got the last missing piece in the puzzle, basically. Since 2 days ago, I did not even know that they changed Ruller Cache Impatience, but this is fixing some of the problems we had and is a really good upgrade for the character. So overall, let's talk about the general idea here about this character. We are running the Gull, which gives us 75% increased effect of shrine buffs on you. And this is otherwise, actually I would not say a pretty standard build, because we are doing Cobra Lash, but we are elemental based. We do elemental based Cobra Lash. You can do this build with Chaos. I just decided, because I think all damage can shock here, and I like having cold explosion, and I like having freezes and chills on enemies, that I decided to go for the elemental version here. But you can definitely run this as a chaos version, absolutely no problem. Yeah. So let's first talk about the gear, what we are running and what you can improve here, what you could improve, and look at the tree and everything else. So we are running a Wide Wind. The thing with Wide Wind is it has pretty fucking good stats, and it's pretty hard to get something else that can compete with this. Plus we get 40% chance to suppress spell damage while your offhand is empty. I did use Mist Wall before, and you can still use this. This is really good because it will give you effectively chance to avoid hits at around, what is it, like you get like 80% evasion and you get 75% block most of the time. So you get a really high chance to avoid damage at all, like 90% plus. But the reason why I decided to go offhand empty here is I was missing some kind of damage, and this is giving you a lot of extra damage. But you can decide whatever you want. It is still a really good dagger, even if your offhand is not empty. You have to realize that the amount of elemental DPS you get from this dagger is so high that it is worth running even with something in your offhand. Otherwise, if you want to get a rare dagger, that's fine too. If you want to do some kind of stat stacking, that's fine too. But be aware that if you want to find a dagger that is really good and better than a Wide Wind, it's going to be pretty expensive, and this is basically 1C, right? This one with the double corruption was 50C earlier. The Gull is 1C, but nothing much to say here about this. This is what we get for speed clear, and it is insane. I'm going to show you my atlas, how you want to scale it later. Then we have pretty standard ring. You don't need to have non-channeling skills have -7 to mana cost, but otherwise it can feel a bit clunky because we are pretty mana starved. If we have all the auras on here, we have 70 mana. Wait, is that correct? It should be 30. Well, for some reason we have 70 now. I just swapped these in, but it should not have made a difference. Anyways, for some reason we have 70, but it doesn't really matter. So you are fairly mana starved. You don't need this. You don't need this, but it is a nice quality of life, because sometimes you can be stuck because out of mana or something, right? If you don't hit an enemy. Then as a chest, we have the Restos. You also don't need to run this. So ideally what we want to do is we want to swap into a rare. I did buy this chest. This is pretty good. But I think even better now, since we basically fixed all of our endurance charge problems with Ralakesh, we can go something with base crit, and then we can exchange the Diamond Flask completely and still have 100% crit chance in the end. But this is a really, really good chest, and I think pretty underrated. You get a lot of armor, you get a lot of evasion rating, and you get... I mean, we do have full endurance charges all the time, but you would get, without Ralakesh, which are 3 divine, you would get endurance charges when you get hit. You lose them when you get hit, but you get them when you kill something. So for mapping, this was pretty good survivability. Plus you get onslaught on hit, but we do have onslaught on kill on this, so this does not really matter. But the other nice thing is 100% increased effect of onslaught on you. So this is roughly an 8% DPS boost on our chest. That is pretty tanky, has decent amount of life, and yeah, gives us a lot of quality here, because we get more movement speed, we get more attack speed, and overall more clear speed, right? But that being said, you can definitely exchange this. The same with the Gull, like you can exchange both of these pieces, absolutely no problem. If you don't want to run this strategy, the character is still super viable. But I think this is super good for speed clearing anyways. But for late game and for bossing, I want to swap both of these out anyways. But yeah, really cheap chest piece for what it can give you. Especially since you get onslaught basically for free. You get it for 10 seconds on killing blow on these new tinctures, which is more than enough to clear the full map, right, without getting in any trouble of running out of onslaught. Then we have also Uprising. This is basically only because we are otherwise not fitting Determination, and I did want to fit Determination into the build. If you want to exchange both these pieces, for example, you could run a lightning coil on your chest. You could run Fist Taken as fire, Fist Taken as lightning, and Fist Taken, mostly Fist Taken as lightning, I would say. Then you want to cap out your lightning res. There's a lot of tricks you can do, right? If you don't want to get armor, and then you can exchange Alt Uprising with another amulet. What I did run before, because it was also very convenient, was I was running... Or is it Replica Eerie's Truth, and you, before that, if you can't afford it, you can run an Eerie's Truth, which is, I think, the best bang for the buck on this character if you go low budget. Otherwise, I think this is a really good amulet as well. It is the only thing that is lacking, of course, is usually you will get your amulet slot for your damage, right? And this is missing damage basically, but we get a free aura, which is really nice, and we get more flask charges, which is really nice, and overall it's just a pretty good amulet. There's nothing wrong about it. This is, although this is fairly expensive, it's like 3 divine, so the budget version would be one of these two, and also with the budget version you will not get above, I think the whole character would be around 1 divine, maybe 2 divine, and you can basically run everything pretty well. Circle of Fear, I do want to get a better one. I mean, this is already okay, I think. Actually, this is pretty decent. Yeah, get a decent Circle of Fear. It is not very expensive, but it is a really good damage boost. If you can somehow fit it in, what you can do is you can run 2 Circles of Fear, right? If you exchange your chest piece or the Gull for resistances and for stats, then you can just exchange the ring. This would be another 20% damage, roughly, if you exchange it. Boots, now we have Ralakesh, which is super nice because we get endurance charges, frenzy charges, and power charges full. I did exchange them for these rare boots here. I had to fit around, like I had to look what I do with my resistances. It was a bit tricky, but overall now I'm capped, like, yeah, like minimum capped, but it's fine, it's good enough. Gloves, just the typical, you get 1 rage on hit. Pretty important that you get this, because you will also have Intimidate then, and otherwise just go for attack speed, life, and yeah, resistances. You can fit in spell suppression, but same as chest piece and helmet. I did not really focus on getting any spell suppression. I'm not even capped. I'm at around 50%. But for late game, if you want to do bossing, it is definitely something you want to watch out for and get spell suppress capped. But it is easily possible with this character if you exchange the pieces that are for speed clearing, right? Absolutely no problem to get spell capped, especially if you run a White Wind with offhand empty, because you get 40% spell suppress. Belt, we just have a Stygian. I was running a micro distillery belt, but overall it was just not worth it when I did the calculations. And then we run a Murder's Eye Jewel with basically life, energy shield, full attack, and some resistances that I had to fit in. Flasks, the typical, we run a Divine Life Flask. It's a bit, like you could argue it's a bit clunky. If you don't want to run Petrified Blood, I mean, I can only suggest it, otherwise get a Progenesis if you are rich. But I can only suggest running this. It is a bit annoying because you have to click the life button every once in a while, right? Because you will spend life. But I don't find this too annoying overall. And Petrified Blood is overall just such a good life boost that I think it's worth going for. Otherwise, if you want to, and if you can somehow fit in more life, I think you can also reserve to down 50%. But I think 1,400 life would be a bit low unless you run super low tier maps. So Diamond Flask, we are basically, I don't know if in-game it's showing correctly, but we are at 100% crit, right? If we run this, it's not, I don't think it's showing correctly, because we are at lucky crit chance as well. No, actually it only gives lucky crit chance, that's right. Then not say something stupid here. No, 100% increased global crit strike chance, and wait, doesn't it give lucky crit strike chance? They changed this? Alright, whatever, but we are crit chance capped in PoB. So, not sure which one is true. I guess PoB is true, right? As always. All damage can shock. Pretty important. Shocking is really fucking good. Otherwise, 12% pen, which is increased by 75% through the node. And then we have Onslaught on Kill, which is a really nice bonus. You can get Onslaught by a Silver Flask if you want to run a Silver Flask here instead. But I would suggest you get Onslaught on Kill, because this is also 10 seconds Onslaught. And this is fairly cheap. I think you can get one of these now for like 10C maybe, or 20C. Granite Flask, so we get a bunch of armor. You can get increased effect Granite Flask here. The really nice thing about is getting one of these that has basically 2 charges and 9.2 seconds, we will almost always have this up, because we are getting charges from our tincture, right? We have all the tincture nodes, so in general, unless you stop hitting for quite some time, you will get 3 charges when you hit an enemy, no more than 1 per second, but that's good enough, right? If you hit the enemy, you will get 3 per second, and it consumes 30, so you will get, within 10 seconds, you will get 30 charges, and you can click your flask again. So this is almost always up, especially if you kill something else. On bosses, it's almost always up. And yeah, last slot, we run a Jade Flask, because we're running tier 16 Crimson Temples now, or at the moment. You can definitely exchange this for a Quicksilver Flask if you run lower tier maps. Ideally, a Quicksilver Flask of Adrenaline, but I just didn't craft one yet and I didn't want to buy one. But do whatever, however you please here. You can exchange these flasks, no problem. If these flasks are up, we have a whooping 31k armor and 21k evasion. pretty decent. You can get more evasion out if you want to, right? If you have more increased evasion rating, you can get a Jade Flask with evasion rating. I went for the one with movement speed here, but it's not really a big difference. I think I have one with. No, I don't know where I have it. To be fair, actually, I think I have one here. Nope, never mind. So get a Jade Flask if you want to get more evasion. Get Jade Flask with 50% increased. It just did not matter too much for me at the moment. All right. So overall, if you want to go budget version, I think this is around maybe 20 divine now. A little bit less. If you want to go budget version, you can get this with like 2 divines, probably. I did get this Watcher's Eye with crit multi on precision, unaffected by vulnerability while affected by determination. You can definitely get better ones still. If you get a Hatred Watcher's Eye with +1 critical or base crit, that's probably the best option, but they are super expensive and ideally in combination with precision. But I think quality of life unaffected by vulnerability is pretty good, and this was fairly cheap, so I got this one. And we only have 2 jewel slots at the moment. The other one is the Green Dream, so we get extra damage as Chaos, and this is also pretty good because you get frenzy charges on kill, which now we don't need anymore, right? Ideally, we want to exchange this, obviously. Like, there's an upgraded version, what is called the Green Nightmare. Let me check this quickly. I think it's the Green Nightmare, and it gives you no, this is not correct. I think this is the old version. I don't know why Phantom is not updated. Extra Chaos, passive grants seeking, also grants chance to suppress spell damage at 70% of its value. So yeah, you want to exchange this for a Green Nightmare because you will get spell suppress as well on top of it. Right, was not too important for speed mapping for me yet, but definitely want to exchange this. But the Green Nightmare is around, I think, 4 divine right now. And overall, I mean, this tree is just pretty straightforward. I did get these notes because I was pretty chaos resistance starved. Ideally, I think you can get rid of these, but elemental resistance can't be lowered by curses. Also pretty convenient. You can always run elemental weakness maps. So I think they are okay spend, these points, not too well. You can also get, I think you can basically get bleed immunity here. Or poison immunity if you really want to. I did not care about this too much yet. But convenient notes. Otherwise, as I said, pretty straightforward. Oh, I didn't get back into this, which I definitely need to get again. Yeah, but definitely get increased damage for each aura or herald affecting you. I think it's 6% damage roughly. Or get life reservation efficiency because we are reserving some life. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, as I said, it's pretty straightforward. I think we can also get something else here now because our chaos resistance is quite okay at the moment. Question is, what would you get? Probably increased 100% increased energy shield from equipped helmet is probably a better choice here right now. Oh yeah, there's a couple of things that you can definitely change. I was playing around with it, but as overall, pretty straightforward tree. I don't even know if we need these accuracy notes anymore. I think to really cap out, we need these. What's a little bit clunky, and ideally you would want to get one more projectile, because having 2 projectiles is kind of weird, especially if you want to get volley in. I was playing around with the gem setups, but if you want to get volley in, it's it's gonna be extremely awkward because there will be like a really big. What's my volley support here? So I was playing around with the support gems, and there's like a pretty empty space in the middle, as you can see, which is really not good, and it's a big problem. But I will come back to that quickly. Otherwise, anything especially in the tree? Not really. Pretty straightforward. We obviously get this because we are not running double curse. Yeah. Otherwise, that's it for the tree. We are running Swift Killer, so we have more charge duration and +2 to maximum friendly charges. We can get rid of this now because we have Roller Cash, so we really are not reliant on this charge duration. So if you want to get anything else for survivability here, you can definitely run Soul Drinker and you can run Spell Break. This would give us a lot of suppression as well, right? And what you can also do is you can refund both of these and you can run Heartstopper if you want to get really, really tanky. But I think the overall value of one step ahead is so good. I would suggest, I mean, especially in the setup that I'm running for speed clearing, and on Delirium Mirrors, you definitely want to run one step ahead. But yeah, if you want to get rid of Swift Killer here, I haven't checked in PoB how much DPS this would lose. I think a little bit, but if you want to go Soul Drinker plus Spellbreaker instead, that's definitely an option. Otherwise, here's pretty straightforward as well. We are running Bark Skin. I think it's really, really good because it basically doubles. I think it doubles our armor. Let me see. It more than doubles your armor, which is, I think it's not really broken, but it's fairly strong, and I think a bit underrated by a lot of people, especially in combination with a good amount of evasion, right? All right, so gem setups. We do have fast attacks. I mean, this is basically just our Whirling Blade setup. Unfortunately, we do have to run Whirling Blades without a shield, but as I said, you can exchange this ideally in the late game for a better dagger and then a shield as well. And then you can also easily get spell suppress kept, right? That being said, fast attacks, Whirling Blades, nothing special here. Cobra Lash is your main attack. We should get a 2120 here. I think it's pretty cheap. Haven't done that yet. Increased critical strikes, Awakened Added Cold. This was pretty cheap for some reason. I don't know what's up with this leak. Nightblade support, elemental damage with attacks, and ideally, I haven't checked PoB lately, but I still think Awakened Cold Pen support is still the best. 6. In terms of what you want to run for speed clearing, ideally, I think volley would be the best if you have 3 projectiles. I haven't figured out how to get 3 projectiles though. There are tinctures where you can get 2 projectiles when you get hit, and if you are running a backpack like a, what is it called, the other ascendancy thing, you get 1 projectile, but they are really expensive, right? The charm is really expensive. It's 1 divine, 10 divine at least, I think, or 20 divine, and the tinctures are also 10 divine, where you get 2 projectiles when you get hit, and then you also have to figure out how you even get hit. I think there are ways, but it is kind of clunky. And yeah, the problem here with volley is you don't want 2 additional projectiles because it will give you a big space in the middle. I found 2 projectiles not to be too bad, especially since Cobra Lash is chaining 7 times. If you want to speed clear low tier maps, I think greater multiple or lesser multiple projectiles is king. I think greater is a bit overkill. I don't think you need greater. I think you would rather go with a little bit more damage. Chain, I haven't really figured out if this is any good. I think overall faster projectiles for clearing is better because this will also give you damage. And we have 7 chains anyways, or 6 chains on Cobra Lash. 7 chains anyways. I think you want the projectile speed, so the projectiles will not like die out in the middle of the chain somewhere, right? So I think this is the best setup that you can run for clear. It looks a little bit sad if you only have 2 projectiles, but I do think this is the best setup. Even if you get 3, volley might be okay as well, as I said. And for damage, Cold Pen as far as I can remember in PoB, but I will look it up and I will post a PoB as well. Otherwise, we do now have, since we don't need power charge on crit anymore, this is basically what I removed from my helmet, power charge on crit. We had that combined with whirling blades, so we can generate power charges. We don't need to generate any charges anymore, which is great. So now we can run a Molten Strike with increased duration. So even with increased duration level 1, we now have a 13-second Vaal Molten Shell, which is absolutely insane, right? And otherwise we're running Arrogance with Precision. Running Arrogance with Precision is a bit of a tricky situation, because the problem is we are losing quite a bunch of our health pool, right? So there's a couple of ways to fix this. Either you want to lower the level of precision and get your crit and your accuracy somewhere else. I need to figure out a sweet spot. But reserving 373 life is not really, I think it's not really a great option, right? So overall, I would suggest try to lower this. You could argue now, okay, you are running Petrified Blood anyways, right? So what's the big deal? But I would rather have a full pool. I'm gonna be honest with you. And I would rather spam my life flask a little bit more often and have a full pool of life. Especially if there's an easy way to fix. I think we can run a lower level precision. But it's not too bad, especially if you have a higher life pool. And if you run Petrified Blood, it's definitely not too bad, but I would rather fix this in some way. Otherwise, we do have Ancestral Protector. This is a pretty good damage buff still. I mean, if you hate it, you can just not run it, but it is 16% I think, more attack speed. So, 20% more attack speed. So, basically 20% more damage. I know this thing is dying off quite quickly, but if you are bossing or if you kill boss mobs or rares that are pretty strong, just put it behind you and do it like this. It should not be too big of a deal, and it should give you, yes, it takes a little bit of time to set it up, but I think it's worth it. If you don't like clicking so many buttons, just don't run it. Same with Frost Bomb. 15% cold exposure is quite good. I think the totem is still better. I would rather run, I mean, actually, this is the thing with this is you can just do this, right? You can just hold down the button basically and cast it. But they are both not necessary, but be aware that they will lower your DPS quite a bit. But you will have more slots for something else. And the other thing we are running is Mark on Hit, Life Tap, and Assassin's Mark. I strongly suggest you get Life Tap, because otherwise our Mark on Hit, I'm not sure how much mana it costs. It's 41 mana. And the problem is this will fuck up your mana costs a lot. So I strongly suggest you get Life Tap. I know it's a bit annoying to have so many slots for this. You can try it. You can try it without, but I think it's not gonna feel very good. Yeah, and this is pretty straightforward. We just run a 21 Hatred, Determination, and that's pretty much all our auras, right? So we're running Determination, Hatred, Herald of Ice, Precision, Barked Skin, and now Petrified Blood as well. Alright. So I think we're done in-game with the overview. No, actually no. We still have to look at our Atlas skill tree. Also pretty straightforward. We are basically getting all shrine buffs if you want to run shrines and if you want to run a Gull setup. I mean, the guide is for the Gullblaster, so I suggest you get this, right? Otherwise, if you don't want to run a Gull and something else, do however you please. I can only suggest getting shrines. I think they are pretty busted, and it feels like running a head. It feels better than a headhunter actually. If you get a speed shrine, or if you get, especially if you get a speed shrine and an echo shrine. I'm running everything that is not slowing me down. I'm basically not running any of these league mechanics actively, and I do have the 7th gate, so I can get extra shrines on my map or extra essences. It really depends on what I'm running. If I run high tier maps, I usually run extra shrines, and if I run low tier maps, I usually run extra essences on my map. So extra essences are, so domination is 3 chaos. This will give you also, obviously give you a bunch of pack size, and essences 2C, and overall I'm running a strat where I'm basically looking for more essences. I'm also running all the torments. It can be a bit tough if you run into tormented essences, especially if you do in the Wildwood. If you do high tier maps, I strongly suggest you do not go into the Wildwood. Otherwise, the mobs can be insanely tanky and you can't get them down. This character does not have 60 million DPS. This tooltip is quite good already, and if you get shrines, you get to above 1 million here, right? So the damage would be, I think, roughly 10 mil if you have an Echo Shrine and some other buffs. Around 10 mil DPS, but even 10 million DPS is not enough. If you are in a tier 16 and you got a tormented essence mob with live region or whatever and Wildwood buffs, you will not be able to kill it. That's the reason why I'm not going into it, right? It also slows you down. It takes a while to clear it. I don't think it's worth it most of the time. If you have a build with 40 million DPS, which you will not have if you copy this build. Trust me, bro. But then you can maybe run it. But I suggest you don't. So yeah, this is a tree. I will also post this in the guide if you wanna copy it. I haven't finished my Atlas yet fully. I do have all four Void Stones. I'm missing 2 slots here from the Feared and the Shaper. I can easily do the Shaper on this character. It's absolutely no problem. I just haven't done it yet. And I'm missing some unique maps. Maybe I should do that later. Anyways, that's it for the video overall. Now or for the in-game video. Now we're gonna take a quick look into PoE, and then we are finished. Be right back. All right, I'm back, and yeah, this is a character in PoE. As you can see, this is Shaper DPS. Basically, back then we called it Shaper DPS, but Guardian Pinnacle Boss DPS. As you can see, it's not very good DPS. It's like 1.4 million. The thing is, most of the times, really like 80-90% of the times you come to a boss in the map, or you get into an essence mob, you are quite stronger than this. You will have, most of the time, I would say, at least 3 times the DPS. Because you can see in my showcase runs, and I probably will upload a couple more to really demonstrate it, how good it is. You will have a lot of shrine buffs up, right? So the damage is quite better than it's showing here. However, for bossing, it is not a bosser. You would have to be aware this is not a bossing build. And scaling this from here on, it is not that easy, right? Especially code-based. I don't think that's the right thing to go. We have plus 103% movement speed. You can get to around 200%. If you really want to go super fast and you want to get rid of some slots, which you can do. Wait, where is it here even? Here. You can run this an empty slot on your boots, so you get 30% more or 30% increase. I think, especially going for a Sanctum run, this could be pretty good. Oh, fuck the door, be right back. Alright, I'm back. So yeah, you can get this node if you really want to. Otherwise, on the defense side, this character is fairly solid. Chaos Max Hit is not very good, though you can definitely cap this out though. Like with 2 more rares, it should not be a problem. Otherwise, you could also get, what is it called? Cleansed Thoughts, I think. Cleansed Thoughts. Here. You could get this if you really want to max out on Chaos Res. But otherwise, I would suggest if you want to get more defense, you could get rid of Fangs of Frost. But this is 9% DPS, right? And you can get Prismatic Skin if you would really want to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Crystal Skin you could also get, actually. Right, if you don't care about this 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. This is also fairly easy to reach. And on the offense side, I think if you really want to make a build with way more DPS, I think the right way to go is not go cold based. I think what you want to do is go chaos based, chaos hit based either, or chaos poison based. But I'm not gonna put this in the PoB. As I said, this is a speed clear build. But in the end, like maybe in 2-3 weeks or in a week, if I'm getting super bored farming maps, I will change this guy. Otherwise, what you can do for damage, what is really good. Oh, and also one more thing, you can definitely run this character. You can run it as a Deadeye, you can run it as a Pathfinder, and you can run it as a Raider. Absolutely no problem. You can go whatever, basically. I think on the Shadow side, there's not much else that you can do than a Trickster, and I would also not suggest anything else. I think, yeah, you definitely want to be on this side of the tree. What a really good damage boost would be if you really want to go with this version, or actually the Chaos version as well. What is it called? Arms Anguish. Yep. This is probably one of the best things you can do in your belt slot. This would be another 14% DPS, and our belt is already giving us quite a bunch DPS. Right? So this will exchange your endurance charges with brutal charges, which give you a chance for triple damage. If you combine this with Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh for this, Harness the Void, plus you will get yeah, all damage can shock. I mean, you basically have that all the time anyways, but this will be a really, really good damage boost, right, in combination. But otherwise, I suggest, or I think I will find out or figure out a PoB. I think you can do way more damage if you go chaos or pure chaos damage, and then all damage can shock is pretty nuts in combination with chaos damage. Otherwise, can you run claws? It's probably a big question that's coming up. You can definitely run claws, but I think these dagger nodes are pretty convenient. and overall Wide Wind was pretty convenient as a low budget item. So I did not feel the necessity to go Claws. If you want to go Claws, you probably want to go Hover, right? And go for a stat stacker. I said that in the old video. But yeah, I haven't had the time to figure out a build with Hand of Wisdom in action. But if you have a lot of budget, lighten damage is probably the way to go, and then go for an int stacker. But you should get around 1500 int, otherwise it's probably not worth it. Did I forget something? Anything else? No, I think overall we're good. Let's take a quick look at Cobra Lash. I still think Code Pen is the best slot, right? Awakened Code Pen will give us a little bit more DPS here. Otherwise, there's really nothing else here. Okay, I'm running Code Pen. Increased critical damage would be a bit better, like 4%. But it depends. I think it depends on the unit, on the enemy as well. But yeah, critical damage is probably better right now. Awakened Elementals. Yeah, but then I can't shock anymore. You can't definitely run. You cannot run this, obviously. So yeah, Awakened Code Pen. So we're at 1.4 mil. With, if we get Arn's Anguish in, it's another 14%. It's for the sake of trying this out. Let's run this as 1.6 mil, and another Circle of Fear would give you another 2 mil. So this another 2 mil, another 20%. Now we would be around 2 mil DPS, right? And now what you could do is you can definitely exchange the body armor, you can exchange the helmet, and then you will also be fine on resistances. Another good thing is probably, but this is more for the poison version, I would say, but this would give another 10% DPS. Actually, it does not. Oh no, it does not. It only gives more average damage. But yeah, I guess the 100% increased effect is pretty fucking good. I also think this is probably the best slot you can get damage-wise from. Actually, not the Admiral. What is the Admiral? Oh, okay. But this depends on the enemy. Oh no, this is not damage sought by combined DPS. Daressos is pretty far up here. Lionized Vision. Enemies. Oh, level 15 PS would give us a bunch of damage. Not a bad chest either. Like, if you want to run a Lionize, you can definitely do that. But it's only a little bit of DPS. Otherwise, Skin of the Lord's obviously always good. Incandescent Heart. Also not too bad. But we don't want elemental damage taken as chaos damage. Blunderbore. Ooh. I haven't thought about this, to be honest. I think this is a pretty good slot, because we also have increased Shrine effect buffs. I will test this out. This is definitely worth testing. But the problem is we have plus 700, plus 600 strength requirement. So I'm not really sure how we would get to 780 strength. So maybe not really an option. A Lore Weave is a good option, I think, because you can get all your resistances up more, and you will basically have more free free 3 points. On the other hand, I think the defenses are just not as great. Yeah. Now Restless is probably the most convenient you can get, and Lionized Vision is okay in terms of unique body armors. But yeah, you can get a base crit body armor here, and you can get another helmet, and you will be capped out, and this would basically be your damage setup. But as you can see, the damage is still not great, right? You will get to around 2 mil, maybe 4 mil if you really force it, and you get like a really insane dagger. With the shrine buffs up, it's still pretty good, but for boss fights, it does not really matter. If you want to have a bosser, go for something else. But I think I said it like 15 times already now. So yeah, that's it for the overview though. I hope I did not forget anything. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask in the comments. I will probably within the next week, I don't have too much time. Oh, are you elusive? I didn't take this. Oh, that's not good. So we do have quite a bunch more damage. But it's still good damage. It's still not that great damage, right? So even if we take elusive, wow, how did I forget this? Obviously this is super important. Don't forget to take this because you will have this up almost always. But anyways, even with this, and if we go back to our setup here, we are at, what are we at? 2.2 million. With Aunt's Anguish and without 2 million DPS. So anyways, that's it for the video. I will post the PoE in the description. And yeah, hope you have a good weekend and a good grind. See you in the next one.